Hello and welcome to R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm your host, Valerie King, R&R's editor-in-chief, and I'm happy to be joined today by Jeff Jones, who is Director of Sales and Marketing with Violin Management Associates. Founded in 1987, Violin is a leader in executive development, management training, and business performance maximization for restoration and cleaning companies. Violin focuses its approach on what it considers the three main segments of any business. Those are the executive team, the personnel, and the overall business processes. Violin offers professional training and works with businesses as a whole to develop strategic plans and individualized systems. Speaking of strategic plans, our topic of discussion today is business planning, annual business planning in particular. Thank you so much for joining me, Jeff, to talk about this important topic.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here. Got a haircut for it and everything. And that was an awesome introduction. I need to get a copy of that because that might make my life easier.
I'll have to make a transcript and send it over. Thanks for being here. We're flattered you got a haircut for us. Oh gosh,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is big stuff.
Excited.
Awesome. All right. So before we dive into our point of conversation, can you offer a bit more background on Violin Management Associates for those who aren't familiar in your role with the
Yeah.
organization? Hint, listeners and viewers, you may, if you don't already work with Violin yourself, you may recognize Jeff because he has many memorable appearances in the Violin Vault video series, which is published on R&R site. Okay, take it from here, Jeff.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Violand, we are a business advisory services firm. We specialize in the restoration and cleaning industry, working with small businesses all across the US, Canada. About 18 months ago, we even opened up clients in Australia, which is very, very exciting. And that's the core function of what we do. We supplement it with professional training programs for project managers and sales and estimators and management development. And then, of course, our cornerstone being our annual business planning retreats at the end of the year, either here in Canton, Ohio, or down in Captiva Island, Florida.
Thank you for that. All right, so time to set the stage. What is an annual business plan, at least in a nutshell, and how does Violin define that?
There's truly two types of business plans. One is that you're going to write one to show it to a banker or an investor to try and raise additional capital. That's not necessarily what we get into. That's a different plan completely. The centerpiece of our advisory services program, you don't have to be a client to do business planning with us. Most people who do aren't. But it's the centerpiece for a reason because a business plan is so integral to the success and direction and management and leadership of your business. So we want you to be able to come in and get away from the phone calls and people like me calling you, bugging you to buy this or that. Get away from that, sit down and really focus on who the company is, where it is going, most importantly, why, and what steps have to be taken to get there in all core functions of your business, whether it's your accounting and finance and how we're going to pay for this growth and scaling, your sales, your operations, HR and staffing needs, all of them have to be worked together so that we can figure out our business is here, we want it to get here, exactly what does that look like, how, and who. And that's what a business plan does. It provides that clarity, that vision, that understanding, and most importantly, the accountability.
Very good. Anything you'd like to add there to help us better grasp why a cleaning or restoration company should engage in an annual business plan and how it benefits their business?
Most companies in our industry don't have them. They know that they're important, they want them, they just haven't taken the time to do it for a variety of different reasons. But I can tell you the most successful ones and the biggest ones and the ones that get featured in your magazine and up on stage at industry events, I guarantee you they do. They all have them. And not only that, it used to be that we would compete against maybe the Serve Pro down the street for employees. That's not the case anymore. Nowadays, you're competing against Amazon for employees, and you're competing against these other major corporations for employees. I guarantee you they have them. They have them for a reason because it works. You can't run your business and grow your business in a reactionary standpoint, trying to figure out what didn't get done yesterday in hopes that we can do it today. There has to be those strategic initiatives in place if we want real growth.
Thanks for that. All right, so another layer here. Can you outline the key components of an annual business plan for us done right and what each of those components entails?
It goes back, I think, to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits and begin with the end in mind. And so in order to create a real strategic plan, we've got to figure out what does success look like for you. And it's different for different people. Maybe it's hitting a certain dollar figure, maybe it's a certain amount of hours you want to work, or maybe a family in the business, or you want to open up another location. Whatever it is, let's define that. So we start up at the top, mission, vision, core values, really who are we, where are we going, and why. And then we build it out into those long-term goals. And once we have those, now what are the major business objectives? 5 years from now, if success looks like this, what do we have to do next year to take those first couple steps? And then let's break those down into specific strategies and tactics. Exactly who's going to do it, whether it's an individual or a team. What does it look like? How are we going to pay for it? How are we going to track it? How are we going to hold everybody accountable? And we work backwards to figure out exactly how that's going to happen.
Thank you. So, when should this be taking place? When should an annual business plan happen? What time of the year and why that time of the year?
We tend to have our clients do them at the end of the fourth quarter, on that late October, early November time period, because that gives you the whole year snapshot to see exactly what you accomplished in the year, as well as take a look at the year coming forward into what needs to be done. But I think it goes back to that old saying, best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. If you don't have one, don't wait for November to come around if you're going to build one on your own. Sit down, dedicate the time, and put one in place because they are so critically important. I know it sounds fluffy, and I know it's hard to get away from the office, but if you are constantly in a reactionary mode and we're really not sure, your employees don't even understand where they're going, they're looking for leadership, they're looking for direction. This is a critical piece into making that happen.
Very good. So, if I'm conducting this business plan, who within the company should be brought to that table during this planning session, during this process?
I get asked that question a lot. The way we do ours is a pricing structure where it includes your first four people for a certain price because we want more than just the owner. If it's a solo operator, uh, solo owner, we want more than just one person involved because you're going to be able to build out a better plan. So I would advise if your significant other is involved in the business, they are critical that they are involved in the planning process. You want somebody who knows your numbers the best in the organization because a lot of this is going to come down to how the decisions and actions are going to affect the financial performance of the company. So we've got to have the person that can figure that out. We need somebody from the sales and marketing team because I guarantee you, you're going to come up with this idea that you're going to grow something by 200%, and then you're going to walk into your salesperson's office and tell them, "Guess what you're doing next year?" And they're going to look at you like you got three heads. They've got to be in the process. Same thing with your operations, because when you tell the salesperson we're growing that, the operations person is going, "Cool. What? Hold on a sec." So we need that person involved too. They don't all have to be involved in every single step of the process, but they should be involved in the bits and pieces that are going to directly affect them because they're going to challenge you. They're going to give you other ideas. If they're the ones with boots on the ground, they probably know a little bit more about what's actually happening in the business sometimes than you do. And on top of that, they need to have some skin in the game because you're going to ask them to carry the water and do the heavy lifting in order to make this plan happen. If they're involved in the process and some of these are their ideas that they threw out, they're going to want to defend them and they're going to want to make them happen because it's theirs. And that's what today's employee is looking for, is a little bit of ownership in something. You can't give them ownership in the company, but let's give them some ownership into their responsibilities. And it goes a long, long way into seeing better production.
Very helpful context there. So now I have to ask, you talked about avoiding being too reactionary and making sure we're setting a sense of direction, a compass that we can all get behind, being proactive. That's what planning is.
Mhm.
What do you say to business owners and leaders who say there is no point in planning for 2022 or any year ahead for that matter after what we have been through, like in this world of heightened uncertainty, largely, introduced or onset recently by the pandemic in 2020. The unexpected has become kind of expected. So, yeah, why should we even do this? What's the value?
I get that. And I get people ask me that all the time. And the answer to that is their question. 2020 is the answer to that exact question. I watched 90 companies sit in rooms in Canton, Ohio and Captiva Island writing a strategic plan, and not one of them in 2019 wrote down overcome global pandemic in their plan. Nobody saw it coming. And that's okay. These plans, a good plan is a living, breathing document. You don't have all of the information for the upcoming year when you're sitting down to write that, and you've got to be comfortable with that. But you have the information that you have. So let's put those strategic objectives in place on what we know. And then we can update the plan. We can modify the plan if you have something as dramatic as a global pandemic, or if you have something smaller, a competitor comes in or out of the business, or key employee leaves. Okay, well, the strategic plan still has those plates spinning and it allows you to keep all of them going. So just because this happened with the global pandemic doesn't mean that we weren't able to focus our sales funnel over here. We weren't able to try and identify a larger building to move into or a place that we may want to expand into the future. Those objectives are still important. Yes, we have to deal with new things. That's you're used to that. You're running the business. But if all we're doing is reacting, there's no growth.
Love that. Living, breathing document. Very
Absolutely.
good. Okay. So now we talked about annual business planning in particular. I'd love to expand our purview here and look beyond just the annual business plan to the shorter and the longer term components of strategic business planning. So does Violin have a point of view here on the stages, the cadence, of strategic business planning? I'm thinking, I guess, is a more of a spectrum, a complete spectrum.
Mhm.
If so, like, what does that look like? How often should I be coming to the table as a business to strategically plan? Every year, every quarter, every so many years? How often? I know I saw a pyramid on your site, so take it from here. I'm curious.
Yeah, and two different answers to that. The pyramid is a graphic representation of it, but really you want to, in our pyramid, you're going to start at the top and you're going to work the way down, and it's going to start with that vision statement. And people, they hear mission and vision and their eyes glaze over, and I know that's some BS thing I heard about in college, and it doesn't really mean that much. It's going to get thrown in a drawer, hung on a wall, and no one's going to read it. And most of the time, that's what happens, and that's a mistake. Mission and vision are true instruments for making big decisions. As owners, you're typically wired to chase shiny objects, whether that's opening up a new contents division or opening up this other location or getting into flipping houses or buying a boat or whatever makes you feel good that particular day. And that's okay. That's what helps makes owners successful. But after a while, we've got to reel that in. And the vision statement is a big piece to that because the vision statement is the horizon. It's you're always chasing it. You're a great vision statement you're never going to achieve because you're always advancing towards it. So let's identify what that is. Then come back in with the 5 year goal. I think 5 years is realistic. If you go further out than that, it becomes a little challenging. But the problem that people have is they make these 5 year goals something that I'm going to for sure hit that. And it becomes a what and not a why. And we want your goals to be a why. I want to be $10 million. Okay, that's great. That's a fun number to walk to an industry event at and say, I'm doing $10 million. I get that. Why? Well, at $10 million, I think I could cut myself down to 30 hours a week and be able to afford a high functioning management team and I can spend more time with my family and my church. That's the why. Okay. Now, is $10 million really the answer there? Or is the answer, how do you have a healthier work life balance? How do we redefine your roles and responsibilities? So that's why the why is so important in that. And then we work them back. As far as how often do you want to do business planning is muscle memory at the end of the day. So if you're not constantly doing it, you're going to forget it. You're going to get away from it. So we encourage you to make it a yearly process to be able to write those plans because the first plan you're going to write isn't going to be that great. It takes time to learn how to effectively do them. So let's start writing them on a yearly process. And then we encourage our clients at least quarterly to sit down. We send out email reminders quarterly, sit down with the people involved with those specific tasks and responsibilities. And let's all put our cards on the table to hold each other accountable. And I can tell you, we do it here at Viola Management, and I've got ones for sales and marketing assigned to me. And there are times I walk into that meeting knowing I'm doomed because I didn't get it done. And I've got to be able to explain why. And sometimes it's because, you know what? We missed. That wasn't the right strategy. We need to be doing this instead. Let's update the document. Sometimes it's, boss, I forgot. And you take your beatings, and that's okay. But it holds me accountable so that now next week I get back involved into that. And we don't wait till August or we don't wait till September and then go back and go, oh crap, we forgot to do that. So those quarterly meetings, if you can do them monthly, but you typically need a little bit more time to get to them. So yearly on the business planning, quarterly on the review sessions.
Love that. Love the built-in accountability. I'm sure the more often you're revisiting this, the easier it is to do the annual business plan, the big one for the next year. So cool stuff in there. Thanks for sharing how Violin approaches this, that you're taking a dose of your own medicine, and also that we're all only human. So perfection not expected here. So I love that. All
Oh, the
right.
worst is when the operations guy comes in and he's got every, because he's so organized and it's just all checked off. And I'm going through notes like,
Oh gosh.
that's that's my meeting.
Right. Okay, so planning is great. If it's not put into action, it's a waste. So, how do restoration and cleaning companies ensure their business planning actually fuels action, that it comes to
Mhm.
life literally in the everyday organization, such that it delivers results? How do companies hold themselves accountable? You talked a little bit about this. But yeah, really just making sure employees adopt it, not even the employees that aren't involved in it, and that the work they do reflects it, that the business moves in that direction.
Great question, because writing a business plan is pretty easy to identify. Hey, I want to hire these people and I want to spend this much money in SEO next year and I want to achieve this in sales or something. Yeah, that's the easy part of the process. Actually implementing it is the most important and by far the most challenging. So if you're just going to write the plan and then you're going to come home and throw it in the drawer, yeah, there's value in putting a plan together, but at that point you're missing the important part to it. So a lot of it is actually scheduling it on the calendars and making it a priority. When we do our meetings, you cannot bring a cell phone into that meeting, which is a salesperson that just bugs me to no end because I figure that's the time someone's going to call to buy something. But you can't, because if people are bringing those cell phones into that meeting, they're not paying attention. We're not holding each other accountable. Our focus isn't there. You have to make it the number one priority, and there are no excuses. You don't get to miss the meeting. You don't get to come completely unprepared. Your job is to come in there and be held accountable to the tasks and strategies that were assigned to you, whether that was you directly doing it or you leading the team that was involved in that. And take pride in the pieces that are yours and what you accomplish.
Thank you. All right. So I'm curious. Of course, Violand works with and has worked with countless companies in cleaning and restoration over the years, all sizes, all shapes, even across the pond in Australia now. So, what are the most common misconceptions or missteps you guys see when it comes to business planning?
There's two I think that really stick out. Number one is day one is your big picture stuff, your mission, vision, core. The way we do it, but any system, you're going to start with the big picture stuff early on, and then you're going to move into the details, exactly who's going to do what. And the thing that I notice is how many people they sit down and they look at the 5 to 7 strategies that they've got to try and accomplish. Oh, I can get that done first week of January. Oh, I can get that done 3 days after. And suddenly you've got everything done by the end of February. Not gonna. It's not gonna happen. Give yourself time to be able to do the things because the phone is going to ring and you are going to have to react to the day-to-day responsibilities that take part in an industry such as ours where pipes don't burst at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They always burst at 2 o'clock in the morning and you've got to be prepared for that. So your business plan needs to reflect that and you need to accurately understand the amount of time it's going to take to get these things done correctly. So that's the first one. The second one is the amount of people who say, you know what? I think we could knock out a business plan Friday afternoon in the conference room. So everybody just planned to be there. And Friday afternoon comes along, and you had 5 people who are supposed to show up, but only 3 do. And one person who's there has absolutely no idea what's going on. And suddenly you go down one rabbit hole, something dealing with operations that happened a year ago that somebody's still mad about. And we spend 3 hours discussing something that's not relevant to what we need to do moving forward. Doesn't get done, and we don't come back to it. You've got to block out significant amount of time because you are, if this phone next to me rings right now, it becomes my responsibility and I've got to deal with that. And more than likely, it's going to involve something that didn't get done yesterday. So that's where my mind is as a business owner or a manager all the time, dealing with what we didn't get done yesterday. And we're asking you to get away from that, come into some room far away from your office, sit down and talk about what you're going to do 5 years from now. It doesn't happen like that. You need to get acclimated. So the process takes longer than you think, and you've got to be okay with that, and you've got to do a little bit of homework to get ready to be able to write a good plan.
Very good. So I'm hearing strategically plan your strategic business planning process. Be
and hold
intentional.
yourself accountable to actually doing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. Very good. Okay. So I'm a restoration business owner. Listen to this whole conversation thus far, but I'm still like, okay, now what? So, if I am determined to embrace the strategic business planning process, whether it's for the first time or elevate my process I've been using up to this point, where do I begin? What is that first step or first few steps so that I can get the ball rolling?
Don't reinvent the wheel. There are tons of places that do business planning. Obviously, Violand management. We've got a system we've defined over 35 years specifically for the industry. You've got the Traction EOS system. You've got Rockefeller. Your local consultant in your area or your small business association down the street from you, they probably have templates that you can use. Find the system that makes the most amount of sense to you and learn that system. Then talk to people who've used it and how they use it and how they write their plans and how they implement the plans so that you're comfortable with all of this. Because this process isn't easy. There's an awful lot of soul searching that's going to take place because you've got to ask yourself the challenging questions that you spend most of your day avoiding. And so find a system that works for you, find somebody who can give you a little bit of help in putting this thing together, and find somebody who can challenge you and challenge your plan so that it is realistic, but achievable.
Very good. Yeah, the more I'm listening to you and thinking about this, I can imagine, of course it's key to have an expert in strategic business planning there to help you. But I'm wondering if through your experience as Violand, just having that outside perspective, do you feel like that adds this sense of accountability too, that you just have this outsider here like, "Hey, here we are. Here's what we're doing. I'll help you keep things going. I'll make sure the meetings or meeting goes where it's supposed to, but also you said you were going to do like do you feel
Mhm.
like that builds in accountability or any other things that maybe kind of abstract but actually valuable? That
I'd answer it this
external.
way. We do business planning for a living. We get paid to do this stuff. We're doing our business planning retreat in October before our Canton program, and we hired an outside person to come in and
Ah,
because it's that critical because you can't get stuck in your own tunnel. And we do violin things, violin ways for a long period of time. We need somebody from the outside to come in and go, "Did you ever think about this?" and challenge us as we're going through building our own plan. It's that important.
cool. Okay. Got to love a good outside perspective. So, more into putting this into practice, you talked about Violin offering an annual retreat for the industry on business planning, and that is coming up. So, can you share more about that with us, an overview, plus where listeners can go to learn more about that?
Yeah, thank you. It's there's four retreats that we're doing this year that you can choose from. October 20th through the 22nd in Canton, Ohio. If you're an NFL fan, right down the street from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we're located. That one is a full day event. You are in Canton, Ohio in October. There's absolutely nothing else to do. To sit in that room, focus on your plan. It's a smaller program, less companies attend. It's professional, it's quiet, it is focused. Then we do three programs in Captiva Island, Florida, which is off the coast of Fort Myers. Those are November 4th through the 6th, 8th through the 10th, and 11th through the 13th. Obviously, they're bigger. There's more companies that come into that. That you are going to work hard when you're there. You 8 in the morning to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You are in a conference room and you are focused in on building that plan, and we're pushing you to your limits. But at 1 o'clock, we're going to break. And now you can continue to stay in the room and work on your plan if you want. Nobody does, but you could theoretically do it. But the afternoons are designed for the networking piece. We want you interacting with the other companies, the other business owners. Obviously, we've got COVID protocols in place, but we want you interacting with other business owners and managers. What's working for them, and what new things are they trying, and what are they hearing, and what are your challenges versus their challenges, and getting those fresh perspectives and ideas and learning from each other because that's so critical. And of course, we have fun doing it. You've got lawn games going on, and then charter fishing, golf, receptions. So that one's more of a work hard, play hard retreat. So
Love
whichever
it.
one works better for you.
Very cool. Yeah, I can only imagine just the inspiration to your point, creativity, added ideas you get when you're thinking about business planning with fellow business owners who have their own planning they're doing and yeah, bouncing all that off of each other. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I've asked a lot of questions, but you guys do this. This is your thing. I want to make sure I didn't miss asking you anything else about business planning that you'd like to cover. So anything else you'd like to add, Jeff?
Don't think that you're going to do this on your own in one weekend or in one afternoon. It's not going to happen. But they are so very important. Think of any major business out there, any big brand name out there. Every one of them does this, and it works for big businesses. It works for small businesses. It works for our most successful clients for years and years and years. It's a proven way to help scale your business and accomplish your goals. For our information, violandplanning.com, VIOLAND planning.com. But again, if you don't use us, that's fine. Write a plan. That's the key piece if you really want growth in your organization. And there are plenty of great companies out there that can help you do this.
Very good. Thank you so much for joining me, Jeff. This has been great.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, for sure. All right, listeners and viewers, for more insights on restoration, remediation, and the people behind it all, visit our website, which is r&rmagonline.com. We're also on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. And if you haven't yet, please be sure to follow the podcast. It's how you'll keep up with our latest episodes. And if you could give us a quick review and rating, we'd so appreciate it. We're also on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, so we invite you to follow us there too. This has been R&R's Ask the Expert. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, everybody.